Welcome back to the video blog. This is Adam Daniel Mezei, your PMD, producer of marketing and distribution. That's what PMD stands for. PMDforhire.com. Thanks again for watching. This is a day game after a night game. That is tough, let me tell you. I'm sure you can see it in my eyes. Anyway, so this is a film that I saw last night called Bold Native. It's a film that is written and directed by Denis, Hennelly, and produced by Casey Suchan. And I'm very grateful that I watched this film. This is an exceptionally good film that basically tells the story about an animal rights activist who leads a coordinated national U.S. campaign to basically stand up for the rights of animals that are being wantonly taken advantage of at factory farms and such, be it pork, beef, or poultry. In any event, it's an exceptionally well done, exceptionally Spartanly budgeted indie film, and I am so sort of remiss that I didn't see Bold Native last year in 2010 towards the end, because it most definitely would have made my top 10 list. This has, I think, the best first 10 minutes of any independent film I saw throughout all of 2010. Straight up. Most critics will tell you that if they're not really glomming onto the film within the first 2 minutes, they'll get up and walk out. At least that was the case in the middle of the last decade when you would watch films. I mean, if I wasn't really hooked by a film in the first 2 minutes, it really wasn't something that you want to sit through, because you just knew that maybe the pacing would be off. Who's starring in this? Of course, it's Joaquin Pastor, who plays Charlie Cranehill, who is the protagonist, and of course in the co-lead is his girlfriend, Sheila Vaughn, who plays Sonia. Excellent. She is so funny, that girl. I mean, natural comedic talent and affect, and I don't know if that was basically how Denis wrote the screenplay, but she just took it to a completely different level, and I was smiling all the way through. She was so funny. I kept on laughing and smiling. Cast of supporting characters, there's of course Randy Mantooth, who plays Charlie Cranehill's father, and then there's a whole bunch of supporting characters like Matt Shea and Christine Louis and Tanya Kay and Matt Shea, and there's like a whole bunch of people in there that really just totally smashed this film right out of the ballpark. I'm still in the middle of going through Bold Native's special features, because there's a feature commentary that I always like watching as well, especially for independent films. I really like knowing how all that stuff came together. And there's a small little featurette, the making of, and the usual slew of goodies that you find on any good DVD worth its salt. This is a very important issue, the issue that's covered in this film. Cinematography was an especially salient aspect of Bold Native. It reminded me a lot, of course, Jeff Bullman, the DP, the director of photography. I really liked the style that he employed. It reminded me a lot of The Shield, and I don't know if you guys ever remember watching that. That was Michael Chiklis ended up playing in that. He played, of course, a vice cop, but that was somewhat crooked. That was exceptionally well done. A lot of tights, a lot of extreme close-ups, a lot of what he calls kinetic camera, what I called frenetic camera, but a lot of kinetic camera movement, a lot of like in-your-face stuff. Exceptionally well done film. I cannot say enough good things about Bold Native. I mean, I heard Denis and Casey maybe about a month and a half ago on the Film Courage radio show, which of course is David Brannon and Karen Warden's amazing LA Talk radio show, filmcourage.com. And I'd heard them speak about their film and all of the difficulties that they'd basically faced in making Bold Native and bringing Bold Native to screen. From what I understand, not only were they budget constrained, but they also had a lot of problems in terms of just like getting the crew out there. It was an extremely skeleton crew. Oftentimes, as Denis himself explains it on the feature commentary and in the making of, that it was like just him and the 3 other people. It was the cameraman and the producer that was out there. They managed to pull it all together. He describes the making of Bold Native as a series of short films, one after the next, sort of strung together. But I mean, the actors totally went there. Major emoting, especially a kind of a showdown scene between father and son, between Randy Mantooth and between Joaquin Pastor, between Charlie Cranehill and his father. That really is like an exceptionally well done speech. You got to think like where Denis Hennelly's hanging out at night to like pick up these lines. And like I said about Sheila Vaughn, she just totally nailed the dialogues. I mean, just great film. If all independent film is like this, then I want to review every single piece of it. If this is where independent film is going, if Bold Native is indicative of where independent film is headed for the future and beyond, I want every part of it. And I have to commend Denis and Casey for really putting this together. Documentary producers and directors, those two. And this is, I think, one of their first cracks at a feature. Let's see what you guys are going to do for your next go. I totally think you guys have a handle on the producing, the marketing, distribution, that is, and in the hype campaign. I think you guys are totally on top of it. And you had you had actors that were totally gung-ho. You have all the makings of a crew and a team that can carry you aloft into the future, and that can properly engage your audiences into the future such that you can take portable audiences and transport them from picture to picture, showing them transcending narratives that really cross genres and boundaries. This is a really controversial subject area. It's about food supply, the food system, and possibly something like food terrorism even, which is dealt with very overtly and in your face in this picture in Bold Native. I love it. It's got like the makings of, you know, Squeaky Fromm and like Manson, Charles Manson, and like, you know, from back in the day, and Patty Hearst and all that craziness, and the Butter Meinhof gang from the 70s. There's a lot of nonsense, nonsense in terms of the tactics employed, but a lot of this stuff is dealt with here in Bold Native, and I'm very grateful that I saw this movie. Thank you, David and Karen, for putting me on to Casey and Denis. Denis and Casey, thank you. I hear the film's going to be screened at some stage, hopefully up here in Toronto, and I hope to see them up here and meet you guys. And if you're going to be down in Sundance, looking forward to shaking your hand and just sipping 5 minutes of coffee with you. Thank you again for watching, and catch you again very soon. Take care.